Will Donald Trump face any trial before Election Day 2024? Joining me now to discuss, CNN's senior legal analyst, Elie Honig. He's a former federal prosecutor. Elie, thanks for coming back. Is there any such thing as too close to the election when it comes to setting an actual trial date?
There is such thing as too close to an election, Michael. There's actually a longstanding tradition, not necessarily in writing, but tradition inside the Justice Department called the 60-day rule. And the idea is you don't bring charges or take some sort of investigative step within 60 days of an election. And just to show you how sort of fluid that is, some people understand that as a 90-day rule. So it's sort of urban legend or longstanding informal practice within DOJ. But the reasons for that are exactly as you just read in those AG letters. DOJ can never do anything that either is intended to or appears to be intended to influence an election. Now, they're in a very difficult spot now because unavoidably, Donald Trump is very likely to be part of that election.
And Elie, it's like a law school exam. What is an election? Because 6 months from now is the first election, and then there's a steady drumbeat of other elections all the way up until November. The point I was trying to make, and obviously you get it, is if you look at the calendar between now and November of 2024, there's no time where you can try him that's not going to be fraught with political considerations.
I agree with you. I think that's part of the complication here. Donald Trump makes all the law school hypotheticals come to life. But if we play this through in a practical sense, when are you going to try him? If Donald Trump has to stand trial, that's going to take minimum a month on any of these cases or pending cases. He has to physically be in the courtroom for that trial. This is not a civil case where you can skip out as he did in the E. Jean Carroll case. So there is going to be every month from now until November, either primaries, debates, conventions, or actual ballots being cast. And that's why DOJ is in such a bind here. And by the way, I don't even think this 60 or 90 day rule really applies, because the concern is, well, you can't do it too close to an election. I mean, if Donald Trump gets tried in, let's say, February of 2024, people are still going to remember that come November when ballots are being cast. That's still going to absolutely impact the election.
Elie, you know that some are watching this and they're saying, treat him like anybody else. You know, election be damned. Okay, let's pursue that. If he were anyone else with these facts and the voluminous document discovery that has just been made, would this case get tried before November of 2024?
No, it wouldn't. And I think that's a really important point here, Michael. If Donald Trump was just any old person charged with the classified documents case, here's the argument his lawyers made in briefs they filed this week. They said, we have been given 800,000 plus documents in discovery. We have extensive motions to make. You just laid them out. We have a constitutional right to prep for trial. Now, DOJ came back with what I think was an unconvincing response. They said, sure, we've given them over 800,000 documents, but we told them which 4,500 are the most important. Trump's team's response to that is going to be, thanks for the courtesy, but with all due respect, it's up to us, the defense, to decide which documents we're going to use in the defense, and they have an obligation to go through all 800,000. There's another really important point here. If we look at recent classified documents cases in the federal system, Donald Trump's team cites two. One took 3 years to get to trial. One took 1.5 years to get to trial. Now, DOJ cited two others on shorter timeframes, but none of them remotely close to the 6 months that would give Donald Trump between now and December. So if this plays out as DOJ is arguing, you'd have the most important documents case we've ever had, and Donald Trump would be given the least amount of prep time anyone's ever been given.
Right. Bottom line, it will not be indicative of special treatment, much to the contrary, if the case were to get to trial before Election Day. Quick answer, if you can. How will Fani Willis impact that which you and I are discussing?
Well, she seems very, very likely to indict. If she does, that could factor into DOJ's calculation. There's a longstanding policy at DOJ that if conduct has been charged elsewhere, it doesn't mean you cannot charge it, but it is something you should consider in deciding whether it's necessary to bring a second charge that covers largely the same subject matter.
And one wonders if that is then in turn putting pressure on Jack Smith to hustle if he's going to do anything relative to January 6th.
Yeah, lots of moving parts here. And by the way, if Jack Smith charges first, would Fani Willis have to think about that? Gee, do I need to pile on a state charge now if he's already been charged federally for something relating to January 6th? It boggles the mind.
Hey, stay here for a second. Catherine, what do we have in terms of social media? I may need to lean on Elie. for a little response here. We're as likely to have a trial as to who left the cocaine in the White House as to Trump facing a trial before the 2024 election. Obviously, Kellyanne thinks there's not going to be a trial before 2024 November election day, and you agree with that. Your bottom line in answering my poll question is this isn't going to happen.
Well, let me throw this also into the mix. Let's not forget Manhattan. They actually have a trial date. This is the hush money payout case. State court, New York County. They have a trial scheduled, and trial dates move, but scheduled for late March of 2024. So that could go. And look, as much as I think it's very fraught for Jack Smith to try a case before 2024's election, it still could happen, Michael.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to be more definitive when you go to smerconish.com. Thank you, Ellie. And answer today's poll question, because this is the poll question. Will Donald Trump face any trial before Election Day 2024? Go vote. Up ahead, can anything be done about the identity crisis among